I'd like to tell you a story. A story when I was a young child. I was in primary school, and this happened between the age of 6 and 12. I don't remember exactly how old I was, but I know that it was in primary school. I have this picture in my mind, this snapshot, and that's all I have. And I have this remembrance of what I said. Not word for word, but I have this remembrance. And myself and a group of friends, school kids, were playing during recess. And I remember sitting by the steps of a house next door to the school, right across the little road, very little traffic, almost no traffic. It was kind of a dead end. And I remember sitting there, and I remember saying something. Gotta watch out for bears. I remember saying something that to this day I have no idea how I even knew that. I don't know how I was taught that in school. I don't remember learning it in school. I don't even think we were being taught that in primary school. I just don't remember learning it, but I remember saying it clearly. And it's something that throughout the years, once in a while in conversation, I mention it to a co-worker or a friend of mine. And I thought I would mention it to you also. So here I was, a young child of between 6 and 12, probably older than 6. I don't remember exactly how old I was. But here I was, sitting there with my friends, and I remember saying to them, when the universe expanded, and again, don't ask me how I learned this. I have no idea. I don't think I learned it in school. I don't know how I learned it. But I remember saying to them and talking about the expansion of the universe, right? So if somebody has a belief in the Big Bang Theory, basically that the universe exploded basically from a little singularity smaller than a pin of a needle, the head of a needle, not the pin of a needle, smaller than the head of a needle, microscopic. And the universe exploded from that, and it grew very fast. And after millions of years, it is the size it is now. And supposedly, it's infinite. It has no end. Think about that too. Think about a universe with no end. But here I was telling my friends, I don't remember how many, 2, 3, 4. When the universe expanded, what did the universe expand into? In other words, if the universe expanded from a microscopic singularity and it grew, what did it grow into? If there was nothing else out there, if the universe did not exist and it grew, what did it grow into? So let me give you an example. If you have a balloon capable of expanding, let's say 10 feet wide, okay? And you go inside a van, quite like mine, and you start blowing on a balloon, and you start blowing it up, right? And you pretend that the balloon growing from a little thing and growing in size, you can imagine that that's the universe growing. And if you have the van, and the balloon grows to the size of the van, now the van is the limit of how much the balloon can grow. The balloon can grow because there's room in a van, right? But if there was no van, if there was no space, if there was nothing, what would the balloon grow into? Now, if the balloon grows to the size of the van and it hits the walls and it can't grow no more, I can take the balloon outside and I can keep blowing the balloon the size of the world, the size of the solar system, the size of the universe, because there's room for that balloon to grow into. But the universe that grew from like nothing, where did it grow into? Where did it grow into? There was nothing for it to grow into, but it grew into something. If you think about that, if you think really deeply about it, you're going to get a headache. You're going to get a headache because if there was nothing out there and you have something growing into nothing, there's no space behind it. There's nothing behind it, yet it's growing into something. There's some space there. There's something in there. Scientists cannot explain that. Scientists cannot even explain how the universe grew out of nothing, because that's something that it sounds a lot like creation, where God spoke, let it be, and it was. Yet they say that the universe grew out of nothing, and it grew into something, and it grew in a space that didn't exist. And I said that as a young child. I don't remember how I learned it, but I was puzzled. If there was nothing before the universe, if there was no space, imagine that my fist is the universe now, the size of my fist. And over here, you see the air around it. But imagine that this is the universe, and there's nothing. Yet it's growing. It's growing into something, or through something. Space, open space that didn't exist before. People say that's just the way it was. I don't know how God created the universe. I wasn't there in the beginning. I know that God spoke and the universe came into existence. I don't know how he did it. Anyone that tells you that they know how God did it is lying to you. Nobody was there in the beginning. I wasn't there, you weren't there, nobody else was there. But I know that God spoke and it came into existence. And when God spoke, he created space, time, and matter. All those things were created at the same time. Before that, it didn't exist. And did God spoke and it grew like that, or did God speak and it just was? I don't know that. God is very capable of doing it any way he likes. If you say that God can only do it this way, you are putting God in a box. And now God is limited by your thoughts, human thoughts. Yet God is limitless and powerful, without limit. God can do as he pleases. God created all this. God holds every molecule together. Not only of this moss, but of these trees, of this world, including us and the universe. Every single atom, to the smallest particle, God holds together. To say that it happened by chance is taking a big chance with your future. Because we live for a few years. Eternity is forever. The choices that we make are done here and now. The second that you lose your breath and the second that you pass into eternity, you cease to have choices. Your choices are made here and now. In eternity, you can't choose because your choices were already made for you. You've already chosen. Now you have a chance to choose on which side you want to stand. You can't say one day before God, I never heard, I didn't know, nobody ever told me, because you know it's a lie. You know that you've heard the truth, but you chose to ignore the truth because of your selfish reasons. Nobody's forcing you to choose. God doesn't force you to choose. God may tag at your heart, but He's not going to force you to choose. The choice is yours. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who suppress the truth in unrighteousness, because that which is known about God is evident within them. For God made it evident to them. For since the creation of the world, His invisible attributes, His eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood through what has been made, so that they are without excuse. For even though they knew God, they did not honor Him as God or give thanks, but they became futile in their speculations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing to be wise, they became fools, and exchanged the glory of the incorruptible God for an image in the form of corruptible man, and of birds, and four-footed animals, and crawling creatures. Romans 1:18-23.